If you're confused about where to start with testing for your gastritis, this is just a general overview of what I wish I did if I started all over again. If you can get an endoscopy early on and get a biopsy for H. pylori with the endoscopy, that is going to be the most reliable test to test for H. pylori, and it's also going to be a good starting point to see what's actually going on in your stomach, because it might not just be gastritis. You might not even have gastritis. It might be something else going on in your stomach, but that's a good place to either rule out H. pylori, and just understand what's actually happening inside your stomach. Of course, if you're testing for H. pylori, make sure you're not on a PPI for at least 2 weeks before that test to make sure it's a reliable test. If you come out of that with, chronic mild gastritis in the stomach and you don't have any H. pylori, then the next thing I would say to look into is the functioning of your different valves in your digestive system. So you have the lower esophageal sphincter, and then you have the pyloric valve between the stomach and the small intestine. See if those things are functioning properly, if they are closing properly, and that can reveal different issues that might be going on. Other things to ask for at the doctor's office would be to see if you have bile in your stomach. That can be detected in an endoscopy, but there is a separate test to evaluate the functioning of the gallbladder, which is where bile comes from. And bile is not acidic, it's actually very alkaline, but it causes the same irritation of the stomach and the esophagus, and it mimics heartburn. So if you have heartburn and PPIs do not help you, it is likely that you have bile reflux instead. And then the last thing I would say to check for is any sort of bacterial overgrowth or fungal overgrowth. So ask for a SIBO test or a Candida test to see if there's something going on in your small intestines, if there's an overgrowth of certain bacteria that could be causing your symptoms. So these are kind of the main things I would start with in terms of testing. Beyond that, it all just depends on what your symptoms are and what you're going through. So that requires a little bit more of a conversation with a healthcare professional. But yeah, the first thing I always ask people when they come to me is, have you been tested for H. pylori without being on a PPI? That's the key part.